and that was the idea of Divi everywhere from whenever I kind of first wrote it out in 2019, 2020. I realized that the world was going to be multi-chain, and so the best way to take advantage of that is to make sure that Divi could be part of every cool new thing. You know,
Exactly.
when all of a sudden base is the big thing, how do we get Divi into it? You know, like so this idea of Divi everywhere was, I thought, really cool. And because we saw like Bitcoin was, people were taking Bitcoin and they were bridging it to everything else, right? Well, so we saw that and like, well, Divi should do that, and Divi should do it even more. If we just focus on that one thing and Divi was everywhere, it would start to create its own value by being everywhere. As long as there's a way to pass one Divi to the next, and that's why one of the reasons that I created GoBank, right? I realized in order to make that easy, I needed to have basically pools of all the different types of Divi and have a money transmitter's license so people could easily swap from one to the other without going through all of these steps to get from
Right.
one to the other. And so now we have this great way, because we're going to be integrating Divi Swap. I actually just got the APIs from Nick yesterday, into GoBank. That means that people will be able to drop out of any type of Divi into 50 states in the United States, which is really hard, right? And it's the only technology we know of that can do that. It's easier to get Europe and the rest of the world compared to getting all 50 states in the US. And so people will be able to just, it makes it easier to create liquidity when people know that at any moment they can just bring the money into their bank account. Um, then people are more likely to want to use it. But if you
Right.
tell people like, oh, you got to transfer to do this, and you got to bridge, and you got to go over here and do that, and then you got to sell it, and it's all these steps.
Exactly.
To them that feels impossible, you know. So
It
making
does
making
feel
everything really
impossible.
easy and one click, we're still, we've always had the same vision since 2019, and we're still putting it all together. It's just not happening with like Geoff and Nick at the top of the pyramid. It's actually happening in a much better way, where there's a whole bunch of people working on different projects that are all targeting things that
Exactly.
are still really important, that need to be solved. And in some cases, meme coins, the advent of meme coins is making it harder in some ways to get money, but it's also making it better. While everybody's focusing on meme coins, we're actually still solving and putting all the technology together in many different places to make all of this
That's right.
viable. And at some point,
That's
Divi
right.
can just break out again.
I think Divvy
That's
will
the
break
whole
out when
idea.
we're when we start moving in that direction. That is
Yeah.
great. Utility, as we know, is something that's missing on so many great ideas, so many chains.
Yeah.
That's I think you mentioned that, right? I think that's when we have ideas to do things. It's
Right.
what do you do with it when you're there? Well, it needs a utility, and side
Well, this,
chains is wholly solely about utility.
yeah, I
And I
mean, and you
think
kind of want
also,
two different types of utility. You want a utility where people are constantly using it on a daily basis, so there's movement, but you also want utility where people are grabbing and locking up long-term, Divi, so that there's more scarcity, right? So there are two different types, kind of classes of use case that are really important
that's right. You
to
need
have both of them.
incentives to hold, right? And staking is one big one with Divi, but definitely being able to get like basically the NFTs that you would do, or being able to have some incentive when playing siege words or whatever you get when you are on the other side of that bridge is really what incentivizes to have some Divi. And I think it was always also the idea between eDivi, the Divi ERC20, but
Exactly.
also all those things require a lot of money to be able to build all those things. And so having already the bridge, having already the ability to go there is already kind of a big step. And once we are able to get more eyes on Divi, then it is a lot simpler for anyone who would want to build those things to basically use the Divi that they have on the ecosystem they are the most familiar with, right? Until we get to the
Yeah.
sidechain model where everything is interoperable. Until then, like basically people have their favorite platforms, they have their ideas, and they'll not just move to another. One of the barrier we had with eDivi is that obviously it's great to be on Ethereum, but no one builds on Ethereum anymore. It's just too expensive with the fees. And so having now the ability to use that eDivi to be like a bridge to SKDV or SADV or whichever Divi
awesome?
now gets created is also like a major use case.